So, what's the difference between collegiate boxing and USA boxing? Well, first and foremost, they're both under the umbrella of USA boxing and they're both considered amateur boxing, but there are some key differences that I feel like a lot of people don't know about. And one of the biggest reasons I'm talking about this because Combat University is doing their thing at my gym. That's Sac State, of course. So I thought it'd be a good topic because I feel like most people don't really know the difference. I mean, honestly, like they're very similar, but again, let's get into it. So, I'll start with USA boxing. So, I was an amateur boxer for I just took a shower by the way, not sweat. Um, I was an amateur boxer for about 15 years. I forgot to cut out 14, 15 years. So I had 150 fights. So I had my fair share of experiences. I'm well versed in the subject of amateur boxing. But I'll be honest, I didn't. I did go to college and I graduated. See, I got my Greek letters. This actually wasn't a fun fact. I was in a frat. Um, During college, we lasted about a year before we got kicked off campus. But anyway, um, collegiate boxing, I've actually never participated in it, and the reason being is because it was out of my control. I would have done it if like I had. Well, first of all, Sac State didn't have a boxing program while I was there, so even if I wanted to, I couldn't do it. And once you have, I think I want to say it's 10, might be a little different now, but once you have 10 fights under USA boxing, you cannot compete with collegiate boxers because you're just too experienced. You gotta think about it. It's these guys, these kids are barely starting boxing when they made it to college, and you've been boxing your whole life, so it's not fair. So, um, when I was looking into it, I already had like at least like 100 something fights. So there was no way I was gonna get in. So I was like, whatever. My collegiate boxing dream is over, I guess. Um, so with collegiate boxing, you do have to be part of a university where you are well, first of all, you can't you yeah, you do have to be part of a university, but you also that university also has to have a collegiate boxing program. I know UC Davis has one, obviously Sac State has one, probably one of the biggest ones in probably the nation. Um, and I mean, I don't know. I know UC Berkeley has one. There's few schools here and there that have collegiate boxing programs, and basically those boxers can only fight against those boxers. So, collegiate boxers. I mean, that's not true. They can fight against USA boxing, but like that. Yeah, actually, that is yeah. So collegiate boxers can fight against USA boxing, but USA boxing can't fight against collegiate boxers, in most cases, assuming they have 10 more fights. But collegiate boxing is basically people that started boxing in college for the most part. So there's some people that were with USA Boxing and then they went to college and then they started boxing again. But for the most part, collegiate boxing is people that started boxing. Like, how old are you when you started college? Like, at least 17, 18 years. Let's say 18 years old. So you don't start boxing until you're 18 years old. Or what if, like, you don't even start boxing until, like, later in your college career, maybe like 20, 21 years old? I want to say most of the guys in my gym around that age, around 20, 21, who are boxing right now, and they're going to Sac State too. So it's a huge disadvantage for someone versus a kid that started boxing at 8 years old, like myself, and boxed the whole way through without any breaks. The experience gap is just like this. So like that's why they don't let USA boxers with more than 10 fights fight against collegiate boxers. If you have less than 10 fights, then okay, it's fine. You're both inexperienced, so that's fine. Um, but collegiate boxing, um, although I do have a huge amount of respect for anybody who steps in that square circle, USA boxing, it's just a different beast compared to collegiate boxing. Like, night and day type shit. Like collegiate again, cause and it's not their fault. Collegiate boxers, they just they start boxing not until they're way older, so like they're at a huge disadvantage. I'm not sure if the rules are any different. I mean, it's still under USA boxing, so they have to follow USA boxing rules. But I want to say the rounds are a little bit shorter, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the technicalities because again, I've never been a collegiate boxer. I mean, I could have been. No, I couldn't have been because I had too many fights. I could have been in the sense that like I wasn't at Sac State, but Sac State didn't have a boxing program, so I really couldn't have. But what makes USA boxing so like why? Well, aside from the fact that like you've been boxing since you were 8 years old, and during this whole time you never took a break. Obviously, you're gonna gain a shit ton of experience versus a collegiate boxer. But another thing too is that like anybody can be part of USA boxing. Like the whole nation, anybody in the nation. Assuming you got two arms, two legs, and two hands and two arms. Two arms. I said the same thing twice. But anyway, assuming you're healthy, you can be under USA boxing. And what that happens is that this creates big national tournaments all over the country, and these people fight all the time. They fight like most of these boxers don't go to college. Like the ones that take it super seriously, they don't go to college at all. I'm an exception for sure. I'm not the only one, but there's a lot of I mean, the most fighters that are as serious as I am, like trying to go professional and have a successful professional career, they don't go to college. So what that means is they work and they box, and that's it. They work and they box. They work and they box. They work and they box. So they live, eat, and breathe boxing. Versus collegiate boxers, it's more of like a, I don't want to say hobby because it is still pretty serious, but it's more like a side mission. Like your main mission is college, getting a degree, but your side mission is boxing. So versus in the other case, USA boxers, not all of them, but like the serious ones, that's all that they do, because they eventually want to turn pro, make money, and make a living off of this. Collegiate boxers, they're just, it's cool, it's fun, it's a hobby, so they're gonna do it while they're in college, and then most of them, once they graduate college, they're not gonna continue boxing. USA boxers, they're probably gonna turn pro. They're probably gonna develop a pro career and eventually, make money. So they take it a lot more seriously than a collegiate boxer, as they should. Um, so with that being said, that means the experience gap is like this. Like, it's just not gonna. It wouldn't be fair. Like, there's some dogs in USA boxing. There's some dogs at the nationals, at the USA nationals, that they have every year they have a Western Eastern qualifier national tournament where like the top two from each side get a spot to fight for the number one spot in December for the USA national. So like it's some dogs in there, bro. It's people that have 50, 100, 150, even 200 fights. 200 fights kind of rare. I haven't seen nobody with 200 fights recently, but there's people with like even having 80 fights is crazy. Like imagine someone with like 80 fights fighting someone with like 2 fights as a collegiate boxer. Just, it wouldn't be fair. It'd be a guaranteed knockout. So that's what makes USA boxing, I don't want to say better, but like more prestigious. That's what makes USA boxers more prestigious, because collegiate boxers, like it's more for fun, versus USA boxing is more for sport. They are still under the umbrella of USA boxing. I mean, yeah, of USA boxing, but like it's two like subcategories. So collegiate boxing is more for like while you're in school, you're gonna compete against other college boxers, and they have their own tournaments, their own national tournaments, where like, all right, so with all due respect, like they're just like I'm not gonna talk about myself, but like most USA boxers would beat like the national champions from collegiate boxing, again because the experience gap is just this big. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is. But the thing I like about USA boxing is a little bit more advanced, a little bit more developed. They have a ranking system. Actually, I don't know if collegiate boxing has a ranking system or not. They probably do as well. But like the USA boxing, like if you're on that top 1 or 2, like you're the man. Like people know about you. Like everybody, like USA boxers, everyone kind of knows everybody. It's like a small circle, even though there's a lot of us. Like everybody knows, if you're the top 1 or top 2 in the nation, everybody knows who you are. I was formerly ranked number 2 in the country. That's how I know. Like I'm make another video about what it was like being on Team USA, because that was a dream. It was I enjoyed my year on USA Boxing, but anyway, um, USA Boxing is just a lot more rigorous. You find people with a lot more experience. You find people that are doing this arguably for a living. I know you don't get paid as an amateur boxer, but eventually they're trying to develop this so they can fight for a living. So it's some people that like this is all that they do in USA Boxing. So like you come into these tournaments, and you got to take into account these people train every day. That's all that they do. They're not going to school. They're just trying to get better and better every day, trying to advance their craft, trying to, making all these sacrifices just to get better, because they generally like some of these kids don't have any other option. Like they're in broke communities. I'm not saying college students aren't broke, but they're a little bit more well off than like some of these. Like you should see some of these hole in the wall gyms that USA boxers train at. It's like damn, like it makes you like really be grateful. It really humbles you, because like again they're trying to go from rags to riches. So that's all that they do. They live, eat, and breathe boxing. So obviously they're gonna be a lot better than like someone like collegiate boxer. Um, USA boxing is really more of a pathway to kind of develop your resume, figure out your mistakes, and eventually make a living and turn professional. Because once you turn pro, the score resets, so whatever your amateur record was doesn't apply to your pro record. I mean, you'll still have it, you'll still know it. I think your box rec kind of has both, so like it does still matter to an extent, but like once you turn pro, like that's the record that matters, because that's what's gonna make you more money or lose you more money. So again, the biggest difference in a nutshell between USA boxing and collegiate boxing is that USA boxing is a lot more rigorous. It's people that's all that they're doing, that is just boxing, or they're just taking boxing a lot more seriously, and they have a shit ton more experience. Experience being fights, like how many fights have you, like if you had 50 fights of experience, for example. So they're a lot more experienced fighters, a lot more skilled fighters. Um, but I mean, they do like a lot of college education, of course, obviously. So that's the plus side for collegiate boxers. But USA boxing, um, there's a lot more national tournaments. Um, there's a lot more talent, obviously. Um, yeah, it's just a different beast. Collegiate boxing, it's more for while you're boxing during college, and yeah, it's more for fun. Honestly, that it is what it is. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Big respect to anybody that gets in there, because it's freaking hard to get in there and get punched in the face for the first time. It's just not for the weak. It's just not. So even collegiate boxers, I consider them like, I have a huge amount of respect for them, because first of all, they're doing two hard things. Trying to go to school, so 4 year college full time, and try and box on the side, even on the side. That's crazy. I barely scraped by, bro. I barely scraped by. Took some C's. I took some 69.99, and I got freaking blessed that the professors, um, they rounded it up to a C, and that's how I passed. With some not all classes, I did have my A's. Come on, I'm not stupid, but I had a really hard major. I was a kinesiology major, so when I was trying to box full time, go to school full time, it was like mission impossible. That's why I waited to turn pro until after I graduated, because oh my god, trying to be pro and go to school full time, hell no. I would never. That I don't think I could do it. I really don't. I know I couldn't do it, because they're both full time jobs. And although I was taking amateur boxing full time seriously, I still was like, I was still trying to graduate. So even that was like, oh my god, like how am I doing? Like there was times where like I would have to like sacrifice one or the other. For example, if it was like finals week, I had to sacrifice boxing for a few days so I could stay for my finals. And when it was nationals, I had to sacrifice. Yeah, when I was nationals, I had to sacrifice like. Well, I couldn't sacrifice going to. Well, actually, there was some times where I had to sacrifice going to school, so I would, but I wouldn't just skip class. I talked to the professors like, hey, like, can I make this up when I come back? Um, can you give me some work to do while I'm out there, because I have to go and fight for national. Like, I'm trying to make it to the number one spot. And I was lucky and fortunate enough that most professors let me slide. They gave me an extension, or they let me make it up some one way or another. Um, but now I'm just kind of talking about myself. The topic was about the difference between collegiate boxing and USA boxing. There you have it. It's just two different levels. But again, huge respect to any college boxers. That's all I got.